Thank you, everybody, again for joining us at Chamber Chat here with the Magnolia Chamber of Commerce. We are thrilled today to have with us Jennifer Antos. She's with the Seattle Farmers Market. You've seen their work here in our community for many years. Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Jason.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, just kind of start us off with telling us a little bit about the story. How did the Seattle Farmers Market get started, and what's your story?
Yeah. Well, many people may not be aware that there are different organizations behind the farmers markets that are so much a part of Seattle's identity and food story. And we are the neighborhood farmers markets, just one of four organizations who operates markets throughout the city's neighborhoods. And our organization was established in 1993 by Chris Curtis, who was the founder and director for many years, and actually one of the folks responsible for opening the Magnolia Farmers Market in 2003. So our broader mission is really about strengthening and supporting Washington's small family farms, and doing that primarily through providing them a sales outlet, a viable sales outlet, in the form of a farmers market here in Seattle. Beyond that, though, we also have programs related to food access. So one of those programs is new during the pandemic, is called Farm to Food Bank, and it helps connect small farms with wholesale contracts to deliver produce to Seattle food banks. And we also provide emergency relief to help farmers who manage a lot of different crises in the profession of farming. And so when a fire or a flood or some unexpected crop loss happens, we provide emergency relief to help get them back on their feet. So those are just a few of the things that we do, but most everyone in Seattle knows us for the 6 farmers markets that we operate, 3 of which are year-round in West Seattle, Capitol Hill, and the University District, and then 4 of which are seasonal, which include Magnolia, Columbia City, Lake City, and Finney.
Wow. It's more broad than I think most people even realize. That's pretty impressive what you do.
It's a wonderful to be able just personally to do this work. And we have an incredible team working behind the scenes in the organization, and also out in the community too. We rely on a lot of community partnerships and support to both operate and sustain and promote the markets. So it's a real community effort for sure.
Very cool. So since we are the Magnolia Chamber of Commerce, question would be, why Magnolia? Why would your neighborhood farmers market choose this community to be one of theirs?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it speaks to exactly the last point that I made, which is, we really rely on neighborhood relationships and the fabric of a hyper-local community to actually run the farmers market and to promote it and to involve the community, because it really belongs to and is operating for the benefit of the neighborhood as much as it is for the farmers and for the people who shop there. So that's sort of our 3-legged stool. And, the Magnolia Market opened in 2003, which was before my time, but it was one of the last markets that we currently run to open. So we've been running it for the shortest amount of time. And the chamber at the time, I believe, was interested in having, activity that would enhance foot traffic on weekends in the village. And also, of course, bring fresh food. I think, the primary benefit was, connecting consumers and families and really bringing fresh produce to their dinner table, but also to provide that economic activity in the village itself. So, and that's really served to our benefit and to, I think, the business district as well. We have folks in the village who do everything from store some of our farmers market signs during the summer to putting up posters and banners and participating in cross promotion. So it's really a team effort with the business district and the small retailers and shops who are in the village as well. And that's a big part of our success and why we choose to situate farmers markets in a retail corridor, which is true for almost all of ours.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see, as you mentioned, the foot traffic increase that happens on those Saturdays, as well as, we've had many of our members gain visibility. They come out with us on a Saturday and set up a table to kind of show who they are. Or many of them have done, things like cooking demonstrations and stuff like that along with your market. So it is a good partnership. We appreciate that.
Vice versa. Yeah, the same is true for us. And I'm really excited to see all of the beautification efforts that have happened in the village over the last, 10 to 12 months. I'm not sure when those popped up, but just looking at that surrounding environment and atmosphere and how wonderful that's going to be for retailers, for the neighborhood, for market goers, and really like have this wonderful, vibrant public space after a year of having no public life with one another is really, really exciting to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I can think of a few reasons, but from your perspective, why should the Magnolia community support the farmers market?
Oh gosh. Well, I think the one that's always at the top of the list for us is really about supporting our small family farmers. That is the reason why we exist. And they're the caretakers of over 10,000 acres of farmland across this state. And they travel far and wide, some of them from across the mountains to sell their produce to the Seattle community because it's a great, because there's demand essentially. And, so I think there's the economic support of them that's also the support of farmland and the support of our environment too. Many of our farmers are growing in, certified organic manners, or in just regenerative manners, meaning they take really good care of the land, and it should be a viable alternative to big industrial farming, essentially. So caring for the land and providing fresh food where we know who it comes from, we know who's handled it, we know where it's grown, right from our backyard is really, I think, the number one reason. But closer to home, I think the economic benefits that we've about creating that symbiotic relationship between folks who come to the market and shop there and then shop at a surrounding, small business owner's storefront. My mom was a small business owner in a small town growing up. And so I know how important that kind of patronage is and what it means when you're a small business owner, especially. So I think that is reason number two, is just spending our dollars in our community, whether that means with a business owner or with a farm owner. I think that is sort of the other reason. And the third reason to me is social. I mean, get out to know your neighbors. It's so easy to sort of go online and click buy because it's really convenient and it saves time. It might be easier and in some cases cheaper, but there is something to be said for having a connected community, for knowing our neighbors, and for really gathering in this sort of, modern day town square and being in one another's company. So that too.
That's great. Great points. Yeah, heartily agree. One thing I know that, we've talked with a lot of our members about is just what COVID and stay home, stay safe and all that, how it's impacted business. How has that impacted your business, and, what kind of changes have you had to make?
That is definitely a good question, Jason. It's it's been quite a year for everyone, and on the business owner side, absolutely. Oh, I hear my dog barking in the background. Can you hear that?
Real life and COVID.
Yes. Well, that's one change it's made, is it's stuck us all at home working. But I think thinking back to about a year ago, this time a year ago, farmers markets were closed. There was a mandated closure in the city. And what we experienced in that is that, it was an opportunity to reaffirm the essential nature of what we're doing, which is, essentially we're an outdoor grocery store. It was hard for some folks to see that right off the bat because we're also a large social gathering, and we're also, a place where people go to, enjoy entertainment from some of the musicians that we have. So we really had to take time and adapt our whole operation to be just the core of, selling produce to folks who are grocery shopping. And we did that successfully. We reopened, but not all of our markets, as you know. We didn't reopen Magnolia and Lake City because the lift in terms of the number of staff we have to have and what it cost us to open with high staffing levels and more equipment, different procedures, it just wasn't realistic to do the same thing that we always do. So I think it's been a year of adaptation. And it's also shown us how resilient we are. We're a flexible operation, and we are a small operation, so we could make these changes to operate the market safely, and have been able to sort of adapt throughout the whole year as our phases here have unfolded. And it's also shown me that it's a super resilient group of people who are working in the markets, and of course our farmers, and also the community around us. We had to adapt with the surrounding business communities to make sure that the entries and exits were clear to shoppers, and that everyone could access storefronts, and we could control capacity and social distancing. And so that took a lot of problem solving and communication, and everyone was just so resilient within that effort. So yeah, it's been a lot for sure.
So a follow-up question I think would be on a lot of people's minds is what will they expect to see in this year's farmers market here in Magnolia?
Great question. King County is still in phase 3. We did not move back to phase 2 today. And if we remain in phase 3, what people can expect, shoppers, business owners, the whole neighborhood, is that there's a specific entrance for shoppers to enter the market. So we have kind of a soft perimeter, which is in the form of colorful flags or ribbon kind of around the market. It will line the sidewalks between businesses and the market so that we can actually funnel people into one entrance and maintain a specific capacity for public health. That's what they're requiring of us. There may be more than one entrance too when it comes time to actually model that in Magnolia for the June opening. We've done mid-block entrances so that there's good flow in between the sidewalks and the market, and people can enter and exit, and we're still able to control and monitor capacity that way. So that's the biggest change. A couple of other noteworthy things is we have really visible like sanitation practices. So there's public hand wash stations. There's all the signage that we're now, of course, used to seeing around wearing masks and washing hands. So none of that will be a surprise. And then the other thing that is a subtle change, we have gone a year now being restricted on having prepared foods in the market. And that restriction just recently, in the last couple months, lifted. And so we're reintroducing prepared food back into the markets, but it means there will probably be fewer prepared food vendors than shoppers are used to seeing. But still a handful and still a wonderful mix of folks to complement what's already there in the village.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it'll still be McGraw between 32nd and 33rd. That hasn't changed, I assume.
Nope. Same place, same time. We open on June 5th and run through September 25th. Okay. And we do have the same thing that we have done in the past in bringing back a harvest market the weekend before Thanksgiving. So I believe it's Saturday, November 20th, off the top of my head. Yeah.
So we would encourage all of our viewers, come down, support it, and as Jennifer said earlier, support the local businesses that are right there while you're down there. Um, just plan to be a little bit flexible because it may look a little bit different, and monitoring safe levels of people attending and stuff like that. But I think you can still expect a great market, well-run, first-class staff, everything. So. Jennifer, anything else you would like to add just before we wrap up?
I mean, I think, just come support the market, come down to the village. There's some really wonderful things to be excited about. We have new vendors and new farmers who are bringing things like cultured butter and hazelnuts and freshly made pasta, and of course the berries that the Magnolia neighborhood loves to buy. So come see us, and we'll hope for sort of the continued path out of COVID together, and a sort of normal market season ahead. So yeah, thank you for all that you do too, Jason, and for all the businesses in the village who are there supporting us and working with us. It makes a world of difference. Thank you.
We love having you as a partner in the neighborhood. So, oh, and one last thing I was going to say, would you share your website address so people can read more?
Absolutely. Yes. The website is seattlefarmersmarkets.org. And then our Instagram handle is the same, which is a great place to stay updated, to see some of the great visuals and some of the seasonal produce that comes out week to week, starting now with asparagus.
Awesome. Well, we're excited for that day to come not too soon. We've been clamoring for this, so grateful to have you back this year. Jennifer, thank you so much for all that you and your organization does, and for joining us here for this time.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Take care.